third spot.
Great. Woohoo!
Doing something. They're all doing this today. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Come on, Doris. Right in here. Good. Good. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Beautiful. All right. George, hold on. Hold on, George. Just don't move it, George. Okay, that's it, right there. Okay, very nice, George. Susie's car in here, and we're all set for the front row. Your lights are on, George. Oh, thank you. Okay, Roger, I think it's good. Really good job. As long as we get to the house,
and this thing just looks beautiful every time.
Else on all three, yes, it's like better.
bring it up in here.
all the bimini on a boat.
Tailgates aren't
Yeah, so you don't get.
They're fantastic. 135 kilometers an hour, or I guess that's about 80 for you, all the way down here. Didn't move.
That is good.
They come from Florida.
Do they?
Ed Kirkland made them in Florida.
Oh, yeah?
Temperature difference is 10 degrees.
Oh, I'll bet. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to.
That's $200 I spent.
That is cool.
Yeah, very,
Where'd you come
actually.
from? Canada?
Yeah, Toronto. Yeah, Toronto. Yeah, our club and your club are sister clubs, in a way. I got a picture with Justin. But the county said he was there at a over here. Yeah. If you back it in, it kind of completes this outer row right in here. Yeah, get back in. Over here. Sorry. Hi, George. That's only a second time back in reverse. Be careful. All right, lift it up. Hold it. A little more. A little more. A little more. Hold it. Good. Let's go to here and the brake on. Thanks for coming. Oh my God. I wish I'd have known. I would have been here. I'm a white bee, but that's all right. You're here.
It's a little warm. A little warm. Yep. It's great. Yep. And you know what the best part is? He's smiling.
Yeah.
It's for my son. Yeah. Cheese. Thank you. Thank you.
Betty can't hear me. I'll put my hearing aids on, Betty. But I want to thank, especially thank the folks that brought MGs that are representative of our 60 years. And if you were out there looking at the cars on the grass, you'll see Gil Launchwager and Betty Launchwager's 53 TD. They've owned that car for 61 years. 61 years. Next to that is a great car to still have in our club. Doris Britt, you all know Doris is our was a founding member of our MG club. And Doris, if I'm correct, you had that car for many years and sold it, maybe brought an MGA or something, I don't know. And then she found her TD called Alfie, and she bought it back. And so she's got it here, that's really great. Next to that is the TF of Dick and Marlene Zepkowski. You'll notice it's a right-hand drive. Brian is happy, he's ready to take it out on the road because it's the English style, the correct style of driving. And I remember years ago seeing that car, and it was something Bob Phillips showed me, and it's kind of fell on rough hands. But then I think Gil and George, you guys restored that, didn't you? So it's great to have that here. I think it's a dove gray. Was it dove gray? I don't know if that's what it's supposed to be or whatever.
Gray.
What?
Marlene's gray.
Marlene's gray. Yes, all of us men know how those things work into owning our quote-unquote cars. Much the wives have influence. Next, Roger Gunther's MGA is out there. And Roger, that car it's beautiful. It's won so many trophies nationally and locally. So it's great to have that. And of course, our club was founded in '58, so it was a natural for us to have a bunch of MGAs here and T-Series cars here. And Roger, is yours a '58 1500? Oh, well, that car, I hope they were able to get it out of there because it was hard getting in there. Well, Dan, if your magnet has a few marks on it with black paint, we know where it came from. In any event, it was nice that Roger and Lynn could bring that car because it's a very special car and they've done a beautiful job on the restoration of it. Next is Susie Kepler's 1600 Mark II Deluxe. That's a very rare car. I think Dan may correct me on all the Mark II Deluxes or all the Deluxes are about 500. 310 total. Of course, those were chassis that were left over from the twin cams, and when the twin cam wasn't working right back then, of course, they've got them all working now, and we all wish we would have bought twin cams and held on to them because they've gone up to outrageous prices now. But they had all these chassis left over, so they put, I think there were some 1600 Deluxes, and maybe most of them were the Mark II, which is the 1622 engine Deluxes. And Susie has that car, and I remember seeing an ad for it. Some guy in Buffalo had an old MGA race car with, this and that, and I said, I don't know, if she really wanted an MGA, and I said, well, you can take a look at it, but I think he wants too much money for that car. And one thing led to the other, and she came back, she looked at it, and of course bought it. And it had a side draft Weber, and it had a whole bunch of neat stuff on it. And the late Bob Kennedy, many of you know Bob, he had a lot of award-winning MGs and then settled on building a beautiful 1500 and a Mark II MGA in the club. We would go over to Susie's house in Webster and we'd look at the car and we'd give her some tips and that. And one time on the way home, Bob said, Dick, I don't think that's a twin cam with just a 1622 dropped. And he said, I think it's really a Mark II Deluxe, a genuine Deluxe. So for the girl who always wanted an MGA, she got probably the best one that you could probably get. And then she proceeded to restore it herself. And I think you got that in '82, if memory serves right. And
no, I think it was done, the restoration was actually completed in '82.
It's completed in '82. But she's kept it up beautifully, and you can see it out there, and it's a very rare MGA. So if you like MGAs, that's probably the rarest one that we have in the club. And of course, Dan Suter has a Mark II Deluxe as well, so we're blessed to have a couple of those. My old clunky race car 222 is out there, and that was originally in our club when Bob Burns, the 100th member of our club, bought it new from sports car sales that Doris Britt was the owner of. And Bob raced it for 10 years as an SCCA club racer, which essentially meant you drove it to the track, raced it, drove it home, and drove it around. So I bought it from Bob about 30 or 35 years ago, drove it on the road, and then decided, you know, you have these, people say you have these midlife crises. Well, I'd always had this crisis because I wanted to go racing. And my friend Joe Tierno, who raced a very historic car in our club, said, well, do this, this, and this. And, oh, who's that guy? Oh my gosh. He was a lot thinner then. He told me what I had to do, and we put a roll bar and a fuel cell, and they had like a stage 3 on the engine, and the rest is history. And then, so that car's been in our club since its beginning. Next to me is George Heisenberger's MGB. George, I think you've been in the club about 35 years, George and Peggy. And so we're happy to have that out on the front line, because it's another one of the cars that have been driven and been in our club for a long time. We got a nice Magnette of Dan Suter's, and that car has a lot of history, not necessarily in our club, but when Dad and he decided on finding a car, that was a car, and it's great that you have that and have it here. The Whitemans were able to bring their MGA Coupe, a beautiful example of an MGA Coupe, and take a really close look at that car that's beautifully restored. And then Al Wagner, who said, are you sure you want my GT here? And I said, Al, we definitely want your GT here because it's been in the club a long time and you have driven it, and that's the criteria for the cars that are sitting out there. And then right next to it is a beautiful TD that I saw when I was a kid years ago, because I lived kind of kitty corner from the Fausts in Arundequoit, and Ed Faust, Gene's brother, and I were good friends and went to high school together, and I'd always go over to the Faust house, and what was sitting there is this beautiful TD. I remember the first time I went over, and it's a 1951 MG TD that Gene's dad bought new, and that has been in their club, or in their family, since 1951. And then the surprise of today was George Herschel's beautiful black TD and his beautiful racing green MGB. We're so glad that you brought it here, George. And we're so happy that you're here, George. I know a little story about that TD, and if you look closely at it, it's really well done. And that car won many local and national awards, and in the T-Register, it won Premier. So that's the highest you can go. Well, George, being a really industrious guy that he is, decided he's going to restore that TD, and he did it by first buying a couple of cases of Martin Senauer black lacquer paint in spray cans. That's a good place to start, because if you buy them all with the correct numbers, the correct lot numbers, that paint came out of the ground. And if you talk to any of your paint people, there's not just one black, there are many blacks. So George knew enough about paint, and he still has some of this spray, and he literally restored the car and would spray the lacquer on it and rub it and spray it and rub it. And Dan, how many coats did you say you thought was on that?
Between 14 and 20.
14 and 20 coats of black lacquer, hand rubbed by George. And no wonder you took Premier in it. But I know another thing, you probably had your quote lucky pants on at the time, but that's another story. That's a whole other story that I won't get into because the police will come and get me. No, anyway, just wanted to say thanks to all the folks that brought those cars. It's the closest we're going to get to Pebble Beach or to Amelia Island, if any of you have been there. And Pebble Beach, well, at least we got the lake over here on the beach. We're close, but it's nice that you brought them. It's a beautiful display. It represents the history of our club. And of course, that's really what we're here to do, is be thankful for our club lasting 60 years. There are not too many centers that can say that. So just want to say thanks and give you a little idea of the cars that are out there. If you haven't really looked them over, take a good look, because there's a lot of love and time spent on those cars by those folks in your club. And it's great that they're here. They're really part of the club. And as Brian said, you know, we don't really own these clubs. We're just cars. We're just custodians of them, and we're just going to pass them on to someone else. So get in line, folks. just want to check. I think we're probably running into 7 o'clock now. Yeah? Oh gosh, I'm off my schedule. Anyway, I wanted to thank a few people that, without their work, this event could not have been possible. And I wish they would stand up. And it's the people who are on the 60th Anniversary Committee. Would you just stand if you can, please? Please, in the room. Annabelle, I know you're sitting there. Dan, you're on the committee. Alan, Phyllis Wagner, Gillian Betty, Dave Wild. Of course, our dear friend Desi Benet was on that committee, and as you know, Desi couldn't be here tonight with Bill, but we are trying to do something to include her, because my friend Dave Rivaldo, who worked with me at the U of R at the Med Center, he's a videographer and did a lot of streaming video and a lot of work, a good friend of mine, even after all these years. He's working for food tonight, folks. So, this is Dave. We're doing a video. Dave will edit it, and we'll have it as an archive, and we're going to send it to the club in England and have it there for them and also have for us. But he's also going to put it up on your site and maybe our site so that you can see that on is it a YouTube site, Dave? Yeah, on YouTube. We'll let you know after it's edited and ready. But it's a great thing that we've got because it's be a good historic record of our 60th anniversary, and this is very special, and as Dan said, a very historic anniversary for us. Gil and Betty, we couldn't have done this obviously without you, and we want to thank you for doing the outreach to the past members and working so hard in the registration area. Dave and Barb for all the memorabilia that Dave is our historian. If you haven't looked at it, take a good look at the memorabilia because at your club, and there's a lot of wild things that went on back then, but Dave didn't show too many of those. And Al Wagner, I know you have helped us a lot of good ideas, and Al brought all those neat little cars that are out there with some of the memorabilia. Dan Suter, a lot of good suggestions, and he worked on this visual presentation with Annabelle. And of course, Annabelle has shown us our tech person. She's a real high-tech person. And the stuff that you're seeing here, you wouldn't be seeing without Annabelle. Your program, she did all the final work on that program. She did all the little things with your names on it. She did all that. She did a few other things that we'll get to as well. She kept track of all of you who are coming and put those in a list that Betty Lontrager couldn't read because she sure couldn't read my list. And so if it wasn't for Annabelle, a lot of this stuff wouldn't have gone from ideas into the reality stage. And if that wasn't enough, she ended up buying a video projector to make sure that we could see all this stuff. So Annabelle, you did a great job for that. I want to thank the Robinsons for hosting Brian, and the Nonleys for hosting John Burroughs from our Toronto Center. And if I can read my writing here. I also have to thank my wife. Of course, you can never do this without your wife putting up with you. And she did a lot of proofreading of stuff, and he gave me advice and occasional humor when I needed it. So, thank you, dear. Now, I mentioned, yes, please, I would like to have the folks from the Toronto Center stand, if you could. We have 4 folks that came down from Toronto, and this is really nice of you to do that. Thank you for coming and kind of making this an international event. If the MGF isn't there when you go to look for it, just look in my garage. I really like this car. I've always wanted one.
It's for sale.
It's for sale. I don't think they can let me register it, but boy, that'd be a perfect car. Does it have air conditioning? to get one with air conditioning for my wife. All right. But, geez, guys, thanks a lot for coming. I also want to mention and have Doris, Britt, and the members of the past members of our MG Club. I don't know how many are here, but Doris, would you stand? And Ruth, would you stand? Any other past members? I know the Palermos are here. Where are the Palermos? Did they leave yet? In their BMW? Where are you?
Jake Costa, they're busy eating their cake.
Where are the Palermos? Any other past members here? No. Come on, stand up. Stand up. Who is that, Gil? Please give him a hand. Please give him a hand, because these people were there before us and really kept this going so that we could have our 60th anniversary. And of course, I have to thank all of the present members who stayed in the club for years, or new members who just joined, and all those in between, because you really have kept this wonderful experiment of a Western New York Center MG Car Club going for all these years. 60 years is a long time, and we are one of the oldest members in North America. So now I'm going to call up Mike. Mike, are you, can I call you up now? Mike hosted a very nice gathering yesterday, Mike and his wife, for Brian, and we had a great time. All right, take it away.
Okay. Thank you, Dick. Welcome, everybody. As the chairman of this fine organization, I feel somewhat blessed, or very blessed actually, to be able to have my term in office during the 60th anniversary, so this is a special event for me as well. But I just want to say a few words tonight. First of all, I want to thank Dick and the committee for all of your work. Even though I wasn't on the committee per se, I was copied in on a lot of the notes that were going back and forth between the committee members, and after a while you get to learn to read between the lines of emails, and I could hear Dick sweating on a lot of these emails and stressing over all the little details and everything else. And Dick, this has really come together well. You've done a great job, you and the committee, so thank you. But Maggie and I are kind of new members to this bunch. We joined 4 years ago. And as we became members and we went through the different meetings and different events that we had no clue as to the history that is in this club. I didn't know that the Victor Car Show was done by this club, because I used to drive, years ago I used to live in Binghamton back in the mid-90s, late 80s, early 90s. I used to drive up to Binghamton, or from Binghamton rather, to the Victor Car Show. And I didn't put two and two together that this club was the host organization for that. So we tend to forget history. Events that we have witnessed tend to fade from memory. What exactly do we remember from 1958? Probably not a heck of a lot. But just for an example, my wife Maggie wasn't even born yet. Okay? And your chairman was a 1-year-old running around in diapers. So, and I should probably apologize for that mental image so soon after eating. But anyways, in 1958, the MGA was still being sold as new. And the B was 4 years into the future. It wasn't even thought of yet. In 1958, also saw the organization of another, the founding rather of another organization we know very well called NASA. 11 years later, they put a man on the moon. In 1958, you could still buy a Ford Edsel. 2 years later, you probably wish you hadn't. And an idiom was born as a result of that. The average cost of a new house in 1958 was $12,750. The average price for an existing home was $2,390. Try building a garage for that amount now. The average yearly wage was $4,600 a year. There were 10,497 millionaires in the United States in 1958. Today there are 4.8 million. And I'm not one of them, so just in case you were wondering. The cost of a gallon of gas, anyone want to take a guess? 25 cents, right, somebody called it right out. American cars continued to get bigger. The 1958 Cadillac Fleetwood measured over 18 feet in length and weighed in at 5,100 pounds. The fins, however, got smaller, so they were in the right direction. The microchip was invented by Texas Instruments. So everybody that has a smartphone or a home PC, you can thank Texas Instruments for that. In 1958, Toyota and Datsun started marketing cars in the US for the first time. Nelson Rockefeller was elected governor of New York, whether that's good or bad. In 1958, the Boeing 707 goes into service in the US for the first time. So for the first time in 1958, we had jet transport in the United States rather than piston engine. Packard Motor Cars end production and closed their doors. And another thing that we have to thank from the UK, the peace sign came into being, you know, that upside down triangle thingy. That was designed by Gerald Holton in the United Kingdom in 1958. So obviously 1958 was a very busy year in the world, but for us here gathered tonight is to celebrate the formation of this this band of merry men and women collectively known as the MG Car Club of Western New York Center, which I am proud to be a member of, and where this evening we celebrate and enjoy the friendship and camaraderie that these little British cars have provided. So from me as the chairman to you as the members, thank you. It's been a pleasure serving you for the last 2 years, and we hope that the MG Car Club can continue on for another 60 years. So this time I'm going to turn it back over to Dick.
Thanks, Mike. Good history. And one of the things we wanted to do, I've mentioned Desi Benet a couple of times, and she's really been an integral part of our club with her Morgan, also our Morgan Club, which is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. But Desi has been a true blue member of our club and always worked hard, had a BGT for a while, and a real enthusiast with a capital E. And since Desi can't be here, and we're going to send her a video, we like to, on the count of 3, Dave, if you could just just turn around to the audience, and on my 3, let everybody just say hi to Desi. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Hi, Desi!
And Bill.
And Bill. Thanks very much. I want to call Brian up, our overseas manager for Africa and the Americas. And I need just to tell you one thing. Brian and I tried for months to make this event, have him come over and be part of our event, and it wasn't working out because the finances are tight on both sides of the pond, as we know here. But it all worked out because of the guys in the Toronto Center, and we got deeply in debt because when the MG Car Club UK heard that Brian could get, as they say, a 2-for-1 coming to our center and also the Toronto Center, it made it all work out well. So it made it work out well for us and for Toronto. So thank you, Toronto. And Brian, turn it over to you, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll try to be brief, but there are a few things I need to say. I feel very honoured and privileged to be asked to be here today to represent the MG Car Club UK at the celebration of your 60th anniversary. Your formation date in 1958 certainly makes you one of the first MG car clubs in North America, and your club name is held in high respect both by the mother club in the UK and around the rest of the MG world. Your charity work and connections to the vintage races and the Collier Cup at Watkins Glen are well documented, and the things at the Collier Cup at Watkins Glen, what did I say? Anyway, are well documented, and you should all be very proud of. Indeed, I count myself very lucky to have been in September 2014 as a guest of your centre. You had deservedly also been awarded the Nuffield Trophy, and that was very much in evidence for the whole weekend. one of the things that's really pleased me about tonight is that my old sparring partner, George Herschel, and his family are here tonight. George and I both go back quite a way. Well done, George, and thanks for coming. It was George who asked me to come across for your 45th anniversary at steamboat landing on Lake Canaan. No, I can't say this. Canandaigua. Okay. Then in 2008, he actually demanded. He didn't really ask. You're just coming. Come. So I came. Then in 2008, while I was still overseas director, I was present at your 50th anniversary at Genesi Country Village. I've got happy memories of that day. As Dick said, we've been in conversation about this event since the turn of the year, and I had to say I didn't think it was going to be possible. Our budget and plans were laid out we were quite good with our planning really, because we'd done it by November, so it didn't look as though it was going to be possible. And anyway, Dick Powers is a very persuasive man, and it gives me great pleasure to be here tonight. I could only say the MG Car Club unfortunately had a very bad year last year, in the UK this is, and the budgets are under scrutiny constantly. In fact, this will be the last event that I'm doing this year because we spent it all. We managed to make some savings, and I would like to thank the Toronto Centre, because of the Toronto Centre and Air Transat, where you can get reasonable flights into Toronto, it finally all came together. We managed to pull enough money together, and here we are. For those, I understand that there's quite a few new members in this club. For those of you who don't know me, I am a volunteer. I don't find public speaking comes naturally to me, so I have to work at it. But it's an important part of the link between the clubs, the MG Car Club in the UK and this club in particular. I would like to thank John Burrows particularly for putting up with me, and for Mike and Maggie. Sorry? No, okay. Yeah, another story. Mike and Maggie Robinson for putting up with me, hosting me in their home. And Air Transat for getting me here and hopefully getting me home as well. But you begin to understand the level of planning involved when it's been going on since the turn of the year, and we kind of finally decided in early June that it was going to happen. So congratulations on your 60 years and being a centre of the MG Car Club. Your accomplishments are many and include being the first North America centre to put on 2 years of all MG races at Watkins Glen, organising and managing the Concours d'Elegance at the Glen, which continues to this day. Your 40 years of the Sports Car and Vintage Auto Festival that many times attracted 800 to 1,000 cars, and so had to be the largest one-day car festival in the northeastern United States. Your commitment to racing MGs was there at the beginning of your centre and continues now in vintage racing, with your centre sponsoring the Bill Glanville Memorial Cup as part of the Collier Cup race at the Glen, and one of your racers winning the award last year. Also, 2 of your MGA racers have won the Namgar Butcher Decker Cup, and 3 of your racers have been awarded the Collier Cup. Because of all this, and your many events and activities that promote the joy of having and driving MGs, your centre has won the Nuffield Cup for North America 4 times. Your past 60 years are still something to be very proud of. Your many events and activities continue that tradition to this day, and your care and love of the MG mark is something the world sees every time you drive your MG, and it's quite obvious from the display outside. The true spirit of MG and the MG Car Club are exemplified by the Western New York Centre. And at this point, congratulations guys, from the heart. And I'm going to hand over to Dick.
Well, Brian, thank you very much. It's great to have you here again. I know you've been here at George's request, quote unquote, for many times. And we always look forward to seeing you here or at some of the national events that we've been at. He's really a good fan and a good fellow for us. And so, with long live our this 60 and into the next 60, we've got a little champagne toast that we'd all like to make. So, here's to the past 60 and here's to the next 60 years of the MG Car Club.
We have a couple of presentations to make, and I'd like to call Bert Berry from the MG Car Club Toronto.
We'll require your president.
Yeah, Mike.
What? Mike? Mike, on behalf of the MG Car Club of Toronto, we would like to congratulate you on your 60th anniversary as a club, as an MG club, and give you this award as a memory of tonight.
Beautiful. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.
Oh, again? Thank you.
Of course, I couldn't come over here empty-handed, could I? So, on behalf of the MG Car Club UK, and in recognition of your 60th anniversary, quiet please, I would like to present this trophy from the MG Car Club to Mike Robinson.
Again?
Again.
I'm sorry, folks. This isn't my idea.
Gotta get a handshake in there somehow.
I have one final comment to make. There has been a lot of discussion down the years about when the first MG was made. Some people say 1923, a lot of people say 1924, and it has been previously said as 1925. The MG Car Club in the UK, with amazing foresight I have to add, started the discussions to do a lot of investigation into when we were actually going to celebrate the 100 years of MG. After a lot of research, we've discovered or decided on the dates that the 100th anniversary will be celebrated. And this will be from June 1923 to June 1924. I agree. You know, what a hodgepodge. But it actually goes back to the first 6 cars that Cecil Kimber ever made, which were Morris Cowley Raworth bodied cars. of which none survived. So we have an invoice that one was sold in or an advert that appeared in an Oxford magazine in December, I have to get this right, 1923. Yeah, December 1923. So it's been decided that this is the best way. And in a sense, it makes sense because we can actually have two celebrations. Most of the Northern European and American events happen in June. So we can start celebrating in June 2023 and carry it on till June 2024. This gives you plenty of time to plan and organise for the events. That's what's been decided, and it's gone out universally worldwide, and that's been accepted as when we're going to celebrate it. I'd like to thank you all very much. It's wonderful being here again. Wonderful club. Thank you.
Well, we sure are appreciated by the home club in England, and I know many of you are new members, and hopefully you've been given a glimpse of our history and our tie to the home club in England after all these years, and for some wonderful visuals that Annabelle and Dan Suter really put together, kind of tell it all, and hopefully in time we'll have that as a DVD as part of our history, and we'll send that over to the club in the UK. But we have a few more awards to present tonight. I couldn't let the 60th anniversary get by without thanking and remembering a number of folks in our MG Club. And we have a few plaques that the committee thought needed to be made. And as my wife is helping me here, it'll be the last one, dear. Yes. The first folks I'd like to call up are, if they come up here, are Jean and Ann Faust. If not, I'll be glad to come over to your table. Why don't I come over to the table? It'll be much easier. And then Mike will, as long as the batteries hold out, will let me come over. We felt that there were a number of folks in our club that for the last 60 years have supported our activities, put on beautiful events, and kind of the fabric, the enthusiast fabric that our MG Club has made. And of course, the folks that came to mind are Jean and Ann Faust. And I just want to read the inscription on this. Thank you for your many years of outstanding service, sharing your MG and sports car knowledge with all. Your many events, especially those at the Rochester Yacht Club. Remember those? If you've ever been to one of those, you know how much we miss it now. In the Octagon Room of all things. And for preserving your dad's 1951 MGTD that he bought new, and also your VGT. And if you've seen the 51 TD out there, it's still in good shape and running strong. So Jean and Ann Faust, this is for you. Thank you very much. Anything you'd like to say? Anything you'd like to say to the club? No, we're good. Gene, anything?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ann. I have to consult my notes. You think I could remember this stuff? Age does this to you. I've got one here, a couple of people that we can't ever forget in our club. And I'm so glad that his family was able to get him here and his cars. We want to honor George and his dear wife Nancy Herschel. George, I think all of us in this room know how much you've done for the club and what you've given to our club. And Brian knows because you kept giving him the needles about coming over and doing all these things. And you've been a strong, strong supporter of our MG Club. And with your contacts as the liaison for the club in the UK, you've kept our name very active in those annals. And this is to George and Nancy Herschel. Thank you for your many years of outstanding service. World-class MG sports car art. And you've seen that. If you haven't, go look at some of the posters because we were blessed to have George's art even on those posters. But world-class art is really an understatement because it's just superb. Now, something that a number of us know, that being mom and dad on your many New England mountain adventures.
Yes.
I think the launch rockers were on all 10 of them. Beth and I will be lucky to be on the first one and the last one. If you didn't get on a New England mountain adventure with mom and dad, it's going to be hard to describe it. We spent 10 days wandering through New England, going to some great spots that George and Nancy knew all about. And they just seemed to every year change it, but every year it was just as good as the year before. So that's great. And also, I can really say this in all honesty tonight, driving your TD, your TF, and your MGB to many club events. Thank you, George, and Nancy too. We'll always remember you.
Speech will be short. The MG Car Club has been a big part of our lives since we joined many, many years ago. I think our longevity is because of the people we associated with. You people never let anybody be down. You're always on the up, and we had great times with all of you, and I can't tell you how much we enjoyed belonging to the club and hosting all these tours to New England. You guys were great. Thank you again.
Great.
Okay, we've got a couple more people that have been in our club for a number of years, and we wanted to honor Dave and Barb Wild. Those have been in the club a long time, gotten to know Dave and Barb, and of course you see all that memorabilia that's out there, and Dave has been our historian and keeping the flame, so to speak, as Woody Herman used to say, keeper of the flame. And also our contact at Watkins Glen. And we just wanted to thank you and Barb and say thank you for your 59 years of being members of the MG Car Club. We wanted to say that you represented the MG Car Club in those many early years, all MG races, racing your MG TD. And that was quite an accomplishment that many of you have read about. Some of you were actually there at all those MG races. But Dave, of course, he still has his TD. Why get rid of it? Also, we couldn't thank you without mentioning the Wagon Jack Farm car events that were on their farm. If you've ever been to Dave and Barb's house, there's a lot of area there for cars, and he did a great job. And there was the Wagon Jack sports car gatherings that were the prelude to the 40 years of the Sports Car and Vintage Auto Festival that we had at the Victor Schools, and then out at the racetrack, and then finally at Farmington. And we need to thank you for preserving your TD and your MGA powered Alba that I saw pictures of. And while you're here, I'm having people take that Alba out of your garage and take it over to my house. Well, thank you, Dave and Barb. Barb, you've been wonderful working on all these events, the hospitality part, and really helping along and keeping this our car club going. So thank you both. You might actually be getting my ESP on who's next. We'll see. A couple of folks that have actually been in this club longer than Dave and Barb. They know who they are. And it's Gil and Betty Lanchwa. Gil and Betty are the longest continuing members of our MG Car Club. Our club has been in existence for 60 years, and you've been members for 60 years. No one else can make that statement. And they're certainly not just members. They've been helping out from day one with not only holding positions with chairman and rally person, and I mean, you name it. Gil and Betty have done it all, and Betty has been our wonderful hospitality person. And if you ever have a chance, you can talk to Betty about how she threw Cameron Argetsinger out of the races at Watkins Glen. If you don't know, Cameron Argetsinger was the guy who founded the races in 1948 at Watkins Glen, and also drove a beautiful red TC down there. But one day he came up during the races, and Betty was in charge of that spot and said, "You don't have any credentials." And he sent Cameron Argetsinger back. But on the basis of that, he liked our club a lot. So, and of course you see their wonderful TD out there, Prairie TD, which they have owned for 61 years. Now, if that car hasn't been driven to every kind of an event here and on the tours and everywhere, probably has the most MG miles. So, keep working. I want to say, for your 60 years of service and sharing your vast MG knowledge and friendship with all in driving that TD you own for 61 years, also and your MGC to many of our events. Thank you, Gil and Betty. Hello, you guys. Yes, there's one more. And we couldn't do these awards without thanking someone who really made it possible for us to have these wonderful MG Club and our MG Awards. And that's our wonderful friend Doris Britt over here. Many of you know that Doris was a founding member of our MG Car Club. She was the one who put her signature on the line, and you know, if anything went wrong, she was responsible. That was a lot of faith, but you've been here for us. Doris is a great artist. You saw her wonderful TD out there that she owned and then sold. Did you sell it for an MGA?
I traded it.
Yeah, she traded for an MGA, and then of course she missed her car so much she bought it back, and she's had it. So Doris was an owner of Britt Motors, and then sports car sales. Many of you remember sports car sales. And with every sale of an MG, they gave a membership to our MG Club. So that was pretty nice too, very generous. So we need to thank Doris, because without her signing on the dotted line and a few other folks who aren't with us anymore, we wouldn't be here. So Doris, you're the founding member of the Western New York Center. Thank you for your years of service, your artwork that adorned so many issues of Spokes. And you've seen this year, we've been rerunning a lot of those old covers and things, and that's Doris's artwork. Great artist. And also, we couldn't thank you more enough, because you kept that TD, and so thank you for taking good care of your TD, Alfie. He calls it Alfie. So I'm not going to ask you what's it all about, Alfie, but that's for another time. Thank you, Doris. Thank you all. Okay, that essentially is getting us to the end of the program. We wanted to be able to close before dark because we got a lot of Lucas out there. some of you have further distances to push it home. But my wife has been working on the silent auction. So, dear, you can take it away. Hold it close to you.
Oh, does that mean you are going to deliver the goods to the lucky winners?
Yeah, you'd let me know.
Okay, one of the waterproof blankets, the MG Gray waterproof blanket, is going to Joanne Palmer. Is that Joanne? And the other gray waterproof blanket is going to Rob Schrader. Now we have 2 silver travel mugs. One of them goes to Ruth Ruddy. This is silver travel.
What's that for?
Me. Ruth Ruddy. And the other one goes to Rob Schrader.
Oh. Schrader again.
Now we have 2 red car hats. One of them is an MGB red car hat. The other is an MGA red car hat. So the MGB red car hat goes to Bob Welch.
At the meeting. Okay.
And the MGA red car hat goes to Dan Suter.
I'm going to bid on that, but you know.
Now there's a lovely MG parking sign there. It goes to Joanne Palmer.
We're outfitting a bar.
Oh, okay. And then we had 2 polo shirts. The extra large polo shirt goes to Rob Schrader. I just read them, folks. And the large polo shirt goes to Tom Palmer. Thus endeth the reading.
Thank you, dear. My wife reads much better than I do. In any event, thank you all for coming. Are there any other words for one of my old professors used to say, for the good of the order? Well, thank you. And we are going to close the 60th anniversary, but it will be long remembered for all of you who are here and helped out. What? Oh, Mike? Mike has got a word or 2 or 5.
Hopefully a 2 or 3, but we'll keep battery. Don't sit down, Dick. As I kind of alluded to earlier, I wasn't on the committee, but I was privy as chairman to the emails going back and forth between Dick and the committee members. And I know exactly how much blood, sweat, and tears Dick put into hosting this event.
That was a good group.
It was a good group. They had a good leader. When we first kicked around the idea of the 60th anniversary celebration about a year ago, we were looking for somebody that would be willing to host the event, organize it, and create it. And I asked Dick to do it, and he took the ball and he literally ran with it. And I think he scored probably half a dozen goals in the process. So Dick, from the MG Car Club, to you, this is to Richard Powers with appreciation, the MG Car Club. Thank you for all your hard work, and I think it was a resounding success.
Oh, man.
And thank you also to Bethel for putting up with all these months. So, very good. Thank you.
Thank you all. Honestly, it's great that I got this, but we need to have one of these for everybody on the committee, because it was a hard-working committee with lots of history and knowledge, great ideas, and you really need to thank them for what you have here today. So thank you all, and thanks to that wonderful committee.
Okay.
And as a member of the committee, the committee would like to present to Dick this card and gift certificate for the 5 Mile Line Cafe as a way of thanks to you for your leadership and all your tremendous effort on this. People have captured it a little bit, but the chasing of the details and continuously working on every aspect of this thing and engaging us with emails and discussions, we can't thank you enough for all your work. I think it made this a huge success, and I'm very proud that you led this for us, so thank you. So.
Thank you. It's a little overwhelming. As you know, we do this because we love the club, but we love the people in the club, and my NAMGAR group has an expression, you know, it's the cars that get you there, but it's the people that bring you back. And if you look around this room, it's the people that made this all happen. So thank you very much. Safe trip home, and safety fast to all of you.